We packed up the team and headed down here to Raleigh, North Carolina to check out the latest innovations in backup and recovery with HPE. I know backup and recovery is not normally that exciting, but I assure you that it's different this time, and that's because of what HPE is doing with their infrastructure. The X10000 and the new Data Protection Accelerator Node are fundamentally changing the speed and capabilities of backup and recovery. Our goal today is to stress test about 3 or 4 racks of gear in the lab inside. We've got 30 plus servers we're backing up. We've got several X10000 clusters, and we've got about half a dozen DPANs to play around with, all with the express goal to see how fast this thing works and just how much benefit HPE can extract from the accelerator node into a wider backup architecture. So enough of me outside. Let's get in there, get in the lab, learn more about what makes the DPAN special, and then see just how fast we can get it to go. So we're in here, Chad, taking a look at the hardware that is well, I guess we got a lot going on. We got 30 servers we're backing up. We got X10000 storage. We've got the data protection accelerator nodes. What is it about this data protection accelerator node that has you guys so excited at HPE?
Speed.
Okay.
And we're done. Really, honestly, it's speed end to end. Because you're going to have speed and throughput. You're going to have speed in the backup data management capabilities,
right,
in duplication, encryption, tagging stuff for immutability. You have speed on the back end with the X10000.
Right.
It's built for speed. It's built to move a lot of data. And that's, without a doubt, what we're the most excited about.
Well, most innovation in backup has been going from hard drives to flash, and then I guess a little bit better on network interface. But you haven't really needed that on the network side anyway for hard drives.
Yep.
But what you're doing here is so fundamentally different. You're taking effectively a primary storage array with the X10000, all flash, and now you're taking the data protection accelerator node, putting that in front to offload a lot of that heavy lifting,
yeah,
and that's what gets you the performance. The concept of an accelerator node, though, it's new. I haven't seen this.
Yeah, I mean, the concept really is to take the workload for data management off of the storage itself. So really, this sits in between your backup environment and the X10000 itself, and it manages all of the duplication, and it basically accelerates the throughput by reducing down that initial workload, the amount of data that you're protecting,
right,
versus the amount of data that you're actually storing on the back end. So,
right,
when you take that and then you scale it, and you start running parallel streams at this hardware,
right,
and the hardware isn't the limiter anymore. And so, with the amount of data that we are seeing in our customer environments, it's hard to get all that data through the system in a short period of time. And what this has done is, with the flash drives, with the network, with offloading certain data management processes from the storage,
right,
now all of a sudden the storage isn't the limiter, the accelerator is doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and so you've built the environment, we're playing with it. We've got 30-something servers, ESXi hosts that we're backing up right now. Each one's got, what, 40 VMs on it?
48
VMs, so we're almost 1,500 VMs.
Yeah, 1440 to be exact.
that we're backing up. We've got the accelerator nodes in the mix. This scale to showcase what these things are capable of is uncommon in enterprise IT. You know, we see a lot of vendors talking about what they think they can do. You guys are really showing it in this lab.
Yeah, I hear that a lot when we talk about this.
Right.
And really what we wanted to do is we wanted to get it off of paper. And
it's off paper.
It's off paper
it's
for
3.5 racks of gear we're standing in front of.
And so think about auto manufacturers, right?
Okay.
They are going to test peak performance. Okay, nobody really drives that Mustang at full torque.
No, I wish they did. I see a lot of people driving nice cars too slow.
That's right. What we have here is a full ESX server environment. Mm-hmm. We've got 30 servers. We got a full Commvault environment. Mm-hmm. We're actually moving that data end to end, and we are pushing the DPAs to their brink.
Right.
And then bringing that data back for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what we wanted to demonstrate, is this is what the system will do.
Yeah, and the reason why we're backing up these 30 servers right now is because we intend to do that. We're going to go through the process. We're running a full right now. That's why you're getting all the blinky lights. And we're actually putting that to work with the DPAN, with the X10K, and we're going to get that whole flavor. Now, one of the things you said, well, the first thing you said was, We're excited at HPE about DPAN for speed.
Yeah.
You've quoted numbers, which is also somewhat uncommon in backup in the backup world. A lot of vendors don't want to talk about numbers.
That's right.
You guys are talking about 1.2 petabytes an hour.
That's right.
And that's with 4 of these DPANs, so 300 terabytes an hour. That's wild.
Yeah, it's awesome. We like talking about numbers because that's what people can relate to. They can do the math. They can figure out how is this going to work in my environment, and it's an easier conversation to have with our customers.
Well, customers are dealing with more data weight now than ever.
Yep.
Obviously, we can't get too far into this without talking about AI creating all of this data,
Yeah.
or data needing to be available for AI for inference or training models. So that's clearly pushing this. But generally speaking, enterprises are getting hit with so much data that sometimes they can't back it all up in time within their window, right? So something like this helps to, at a minimum, maintain those SLAs, if not dramatically reduce those backup windows.
It does, and you can look at it a couple of different ways. You can look at it, I think like you're describing it, which is you've got this environment with exploding data growth, and then you've got this solution that can certainly handle whatever you throw at it.
Right.
But if you look at what the back end of this thing is, it's the X10000, which is a scaled data platform for AI workloads,
Right.
data lakes, and rapid recovery and restore. So just by that measure, we are operating in a scaled environment, which means our data protection solution has to match the environments that we're operating in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the wild thing is you're running primary storage with an accelerator in front, which makes it faster in many ways than the primary storage some of your customers are going to be using.
That's right.
That's a fun challenge backup
Backup is a little boring sometimes.
can be a little boring, a little slow, okay? Don't get upset with me. But this is like really exciting, really on the edge and leading the charge with what you can do. Now, the accelerator node's relatively recent. What's going on in terms of availability and purchasability of this thing? Is it ready now?
100%. They have been available since fourth quarter of last year.
Okay.
We've been doing a lot of POCs with customers over the last several months. Everybody's super excited about it. And we're starting to see customers purchase them. And they're rolling out of the factory right now.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take Kevin's nerd leash off. You've got your own nerd that they're going to break down a little bit more on the hardware, the network, the testing environment, what we're doing here, and show you a lot more about that data protection accelerator node and what it's capable of, and a lot of the hardware highlights and capabilities that lie within. So we'll let those guys have some fun and get you the nerdy content next.
Hey guys, right now I'm here with Bob Jensen, and we've covered a lot of the less technical aspects of this deployment, leveraging 4 of these DPANs, a X10000, about 30 ESXi servers, or exactly 30 ESXi servers, 1,440 VMs. As we drill in though, tell me a bit more about the technical layout of this box, because it looks a little bit different than your average server.
Yep, so this is the HPE Data Protection Accelerator Node that we use in concert with the X10K storage platform to give you industry-leading dedupe capabilities to greatly speed up backup and recovery.
So I noticed this has 2 rows of drives, although I don't think you guys fully leverage all of the drives in this particular configuration. It looks like there's just, what is this, 8 drives in the center row?
Yeah, so we've basically optimized the system to give the most possible throughput to the actual drives that are in the system to speed up the dedupe as fast as it can go. We did quite a bit of experimentation to optimize the number of drives relative to the number of storage lanes on the backplane.
So let's break down the hardware. I know we covered what the general function of the DPAN is, but how does the workflow go into the unit? What's inside that makes this thing tick?
So basically what we have is one of our advanced storage server platforms. It's basically a compute system on steroids. So we've got dual Xeon Gold processors. We've got 1.5 terabytes of DDR5 RAM. The 8 drives are connected through 2 SR932 RAID cards. The connectivity comes from 4 dual port 25 gig NICs that are meant to be bonded into a 200 gig connection.
When you want to leverage this with a backup software like Commvault, are there certain features you need to turn off or prepare to really take advantage of this in a given environment?
No, in fact, this is very much a set it and forget it solution. As long as the backup software is compatible with Catalyst technology, you just put the DPAN in, configure it, the IP address, and then as long as the backup software can see the Catalyst storage that are configured on here, no changes, no tweaking, no modifications at all.
So we've built out an environment with 30 ESXi hosts, 4 DPANs, and an 8-node X10000 cluster. The first full backup across those 1,440 VMs took about 38 to 40 minutes. I mean, that's a huge performance number from a backup ingest perspective, which really starts getting close to what you're going to find from primary storage on its own, which is, I mean, honestly, X10000 is primary storage, but I mean, these are massive performance figures for just a backup job.
Yeah, we're very pleased with the performance. We've gotten, you know, again, we went through an arduous process to basically put the environment together, and we were very pleased with the output and all the effort that it took to get there.
We're back in our lab, obviously, after our trip to Raleigh. Backup is great, and it's fun to be with HPE in Raleigh, but standing there and watching backup for several weeks isn't really my jam.
Maybe not, but at least they had a lot of cool equipment.
They had a ton of equipment, which you saw already, and by the way, that's a good call out that HPE stood up a huge environment, about 3 racks worth of gear, just to test and validate this work with Commvault, DPAN, the X10000, robust, to say the least.
Yes, when you go into a backup project, you're thinking like, well, I mean, it's kind of secondary, it's running off in the background, speeds and feeds isn't a thing, and then now it turns into a kind of a review project where we're dealing with performance aspects that are faster than most, or I should say, faster than most, or if all, the primary storage we've interacted with over the past couple of years, just like in normal bite-sized projects.
Well, it's fun because with the X10K, you're effectively getting primary storage, NVMe performance, all that kind of stuff, and we're using it to hold the backup data, but you could use it in these environments to do anything else you wanted. It doesn't have to only be for backup.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun because it's primary storage. It offers its own dedupe, although DPAN sits in front of it and does the heavy lifting for it, and you get a lot of fantastic performance for it. It's fun.
It is, and the DPAN, as Kevin said, obviously is the bit where we have the Catalyst running and does all the heavy lifting so that the storage can just be storage. But in the testing over the last several weeks, we found some things that I didn't expect to find, and one of them is when you put a solution like this in your backup and recovery environment, it uncovers new challenges throughout your stack.
Well, yeah, because most backup is approached where it hits a window, it covers, it's like, hey, it needs to happen in this 2-hour block.
Right.
Not the, hey, can we run it in 10 or 20 or 30 minutes? So there's delays, there's things that are just built into the backup process that they're not really expecting the backup to be the fastest, they're not expecting that storage to be the fastest component of that workload.
Well, I think that was one of the key takeaways. Really, I found 3 in terms of prepping your infrastructure if you go to a really high-speed, high-performance backup when putting in the DPAN. One is the applications are not tuned for this level of performance, to your point. It reminds me of the shift from hard drives to a little bit with SATA, but really to NVMe, SAS to and NVMe in servers. When we made that jump technologically to flash in a big way, applications weren't ready for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw that with the application accelerator space, where a lot of those, with the name implied, their core focus wasn't just fast performance, it was how can it change the application.
Right.
And you had divisions of those companies set up specifically like, how can you make SQL Server
better,
faster?
right?
Yeah, it's so there's always been the idea of like, you have a fundamental shift that enters the space, and how do you fix those legacy items?
Yeah, and so the backup applications, and this isn't a Commvault, that's a problem, that's who we used in this testing. This is a challenge for the entire industry to figure out, okay, now if we have access to these high-speed storage systems, how do we make it more efficient and make our code better to take advantage of those? Second thing that stood out is Fabric. So we were on a nice Ethernet fabric. Backup doesn't always get the best stuff though, so that's a challenge.
Usually you think of a backup appliance, it's like, okay, it's got a 10 gig uplink or something.
Right.
This was multiple 25 gig links to saturate it, and we were saturating things really well.
Right, so that's another interesting challenge. So as you're thinking about putting in X10K with DPAN, making sure the fabric is ready is another one. And the third thing that stood out to me was that, of course, all of our backups were fast.
Yeah.
And as you add more DPANs, it scales linearly because they're all doing individual sets of work. And I think you can get up to 10 of these in one cluster. So you could do a really big, really fast cluster without having to make any other changes with DPAN. But recovery is critical too. And so we saw in the Oracle data, and we've got all the data for all of this work in the paper, we'll link to that in the description below, but the recovery is critical. And this enables really fast recoveries, but if your servers aren't ready for that, either with Fabric or with fast SSDs, that could be a challenge in getting that recovery time to the point where the DPAN is probably able to restore faster than some of the client systems can recover.
Well, yeah, because in a lot of backup and recovery setups, you have processes where recoveries come online, especially for VMs. It builds out a base VM, then applies a profile, then starts dumping the data into it.
Right.
There's lag. There's certain things in there where you have to account for those things, and then it's like, well, your backup speed's really fast, your rehydration speeds, you have to be able to accommodate that. So that's
right.
Those are some fun challenges.
What I mean, you're a storage guy, so what do you think? You need, if you've got some servers that are doing high performance database or something, get the high write intensity drives in there to be able to take this sustained write to the drives if they need?
That's another interesting point, because when we think of a high performance storage platform working with traditional servers, that thing's not being saturated to 100% the entire time. It's not. You're not saturating your pipes going in and out of those platforms. On the backup and recovery side,
you want it saturated.
Well, yes, I mean you're designing a thing where like your bandwidth is going to be at its probably highest load possible through those scenarios, and you have to be able to account for that, not just on the network pipe size, but on in the case of the SSDs, you want to make sure you have not necessarily higher endurance drives, but drives that can sustain a higher sustained write speed.
Yeah. So it's an interesting chasm that we're seeing in backup and recovery from the SMB side, which is really looking at smaller integrated appliances, and now all the way at the other end with HPE's solution that's designed to handle modern enterprise workloads, the expansion of data, and the timeliness of being able to get that data back. DPAN's an exquisite and elegant way to take the code that HPE had already in their Store Once and Catalyst and all the heritage there, get it onto a duty-specific node to handle all that work, and really free up the entire architecture to do what it does best, and that is make sure that enterprises can back up and recover these large data sets.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've got a full paper, again, linked to in the description below if you want to learn more about the HPE solution with the Data Protection Accelerator Node. Strongly recommend you read it, even if it's aspirational for your organization, because this is such a fundamentally different way to look at backup and recovery. Well worth the time to check it out. To keep in touch with us on all of our projects, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We've got great content there all the time. And if you want to get more involved, we've got a free Discord where you can get involved and see what we've got going on at any given time and interact with Kevin on whatever you want. He'll be there if you need tech support. So check us out on those platforms. Until then, we'll see you next time.